everyone, Happy New Year. Hello, Laura and Grace. Happy to be joining you from my still decorated for Christmas house. I'm not sure when I'm taking it down, but for right now, I'm really enjoying the light and the warmth and the comfort that it is bringing. I'm recording this on New Year's Eve. So after this, I'm headed to my in-laws to celebrate with them. But before I do that, it's time to talk about my favorite books of 2025. I think some of these are not going to be a surprise. Some of them I have talked about on this channel before, but some are newer. So I read 110 books in 2025, and it was very, very difficult to narrow that down to 5 books. But I did it, I think, and we're going to go with it. So without any further ado, let's get started. The first, well, no, not the first. It's the first book I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to start with number 5 and work my way to my favorite book of the year. Sometimes I can't rank them that way, but this year I felt pretty confident on my ranking. I actually ranked every month I rank my books. It's just a fun thing that I do with my brothers-in-law and my husband. And so each year or each month I already know what my top book of that month was. So it makes it a little easier to then rank through the year and figure out what my favorite was, because I already know what I thought about it closer to when I read it. So anyway, number 5 for 2025 is Bloom by Delia S. Dawson, I think. My brain won't understand where that I is coming from. Okay, anyway, this is a very short book. I read it a good handful of months ago. It was more toward the beginning of the year. I loved this book. I don't want to say much about it. I don't even really want to talk too much about the plot, because I think it's something you should go into not knowing much about. But I will say that it is a horror. It is considered a horror. You're going to find it on the horror shelves. And I'm saying this just because if you don't like horror, I don't want you to think that this is just a really nice, beautiful story. And it is. I was really, really shocked by the ending. I wasn't really expecting it. So there's almost 2 twists, kind of. There's the main twist, and then that happens maybe in the last 15-20% of the book. I kind of was starting to see that coming, but it was a little bit more violent and graphic than I was expecting, which personally I like. And then the final twist, which happens literally in the last chapter, the last 2 pages of the book. I actually gasped out loud. I love these characters. I love this book. It's number 5 for me. Number 4 is actually Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I just recently read this. I read this, I think I want to say last month in November. Absolutely loved it. I read Spinning Silver by her a few years ago, and I'd had this on my shelves and just never got around to it. If you have never read Naomi Novik, her books it's a fantasy. She mostly writes fantasy. At least everything I've read by her has been fantasy. But they're very folktale inspired. So this and Spinning Silver come from Slavic folktales. And they are so lyrical, so mesmerizing. You just really picture yourself in these villages where these magical, crazy things are happening. If you are a big fan of romance and fantasy, there is a little bit of that in her books, but not a lot. I would not classify her books as romantasy. They are mostly folktale fantasy. And because of that, they're just really atmospheric. This is about a woman or a young girl who, wow, it's hard to describe actually. There's a lot going on. But there is a powerful wizard who lives in a tower near her village, and every 10 years he takes a 17-year-old girl from the village, and they are separated from their parents, and they live up in this tower forever, for 10 years, but then when they come back they're usually changed in some way. And so she is convinced that the girl that he's going to take is going to be her best friend, because she is the most beautiful and the most talented in the village, but he does not take her. He takes someone else. Spoiler alert, it might be our main character, anyway. So, but that is the very, very beginning of the book, and then a lot more crazy things happen. So highly recommend. This is my number 4. Okay, number 3, I already talked about quite at length on this channel, and that is The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. I did a reading blog of this book, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the plot, but I will say it is a horror, and it's very uncanny. It was so good. I mean, that's why it's my number 3 book of the year. But I already love T. Kingfisher. The Twisted Ones is my all-time favorite book of hers, but this one was a close second of my favorite books of hers. And this is so fun. This is about a woman who moves back in with her uncle I think so. Is it her uncle? Uncle, yeah. I couldn't remember if it was grandpa or uncle. And she is there because she's recently divorced and she's just kind of trying to get her life back on track. But he owns a museum of wonders. And so she's helping to kind of like manage and take care of this museum. So that already sets you off with like a very eerie, unsettling feeling, because there's all these like, you know, taxidermied animals and weird sculptures and dolls and things sitting around. But then crazy, crazy, crazy stuff starts happening. My favorite part about T. Kingfisher's books is that you really can't predict where they're going to go. And you also have the best characters that I have ever read in horror. I love her characters. Usually her main character, who's almost always a woman, at least pretty much in every book I think that I've read of hers. And then some like kind of wonky side character who is always hilarious and endearing, and you just root so hard for them. This is no different, and I absolutely love this. I read it in like 24 hours. Highly, highly recommend. My second book of the year I don't own, so I can't wave it around, and that is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. We read this as a buddy read together, me, Laura, and Grace. So much fun, girls. Taylor Jenkins Reid can do no wrong. Her books are like 5 stars for me before I even read them, before they're even published. I just know that they're going to be perfect. And sorry to put all that pressure on her, but she really is just a masterful writer. And I absolutely loved Atmosphere. Is it my favorite of her books ever? No, it might be like second or third. But man, it was so good. I loved the characters so much. I loved the space. I thought it was so unique and a lot of stuff that I really didn't know about, but the love story in it is just so compelling and it pulls your heart. And I was reading it when it was warmer out, and I remember finishing it on my porch, like in tears, because if you've read it and you know the end is very stressful. And in like the last page, something happens. And so I gasped out loud at the end. So that is my number 2 pick. Taylor Jenkins Reid, you've done it again. When's your next book coming out? Do you have one in 2026? Oh my God. And then my number 1 of the year, I actually just finished 2 days ago. So you could say that I have recency bias, but I don't think so, because I think it is just this good. I've owned this book for probably 5 years or something like that, and I've never read it until now because I was waiting for the right time. And that is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. So obviously it's bigger. It's not crazy though. It's only like 800 pages. Oh my gosh, it's perfect in every way. There's a lot going on in this book, a lot of characters, a lot of world building, a really expansive map. So that is why I waited so long to read it in some ways, because I wanted to make sure I had the time to devote to it. And I decided over this Christmas break, when I had some time off of work, that this was what I was going to do. And I'm so glad that I did, that I read it at a time where I could read a good bit at a time and finish it in a timely manner, not like stretch it out for weeks and weeks, because I think I would have kind of forgotten things, because there is a lot going on. But oh my gosh, these characters, the world and the magic and the dragons, oh my gosh, it's perfect. I love dragons in a fantasy book, and the dragons in this book are so fun. But not fun in a good way. The dragons are evil. Not all of them. Some of them are evil. Sorry, there's a lot going on. Some of them are evil, and they are very sentient. Like, it's not like some other fantasy where perhaps they are, being ridden by the ultimate villain. In this story, the dragons themselves are the villains, and they can talk, and they raise an army. And so we have all of these different factions responding to this threat in different ways. But of course, then they're responding to threats within their own kingdoms and issues that might be going on. And then we have infighting between the different kingdoms and factions. And then we have these few main characters that we follow throughout the whole book who travel around for various reasons. And wow, bring it all together by the end. I thought it was it is a novel. She wrote another one, and I believe, okay, I might be wrong, but I believe that it is a prequel. I don't believe there is a sequel to this book as of yet. And I don't think that there's supposed to be, because it is a novel, which is kind of rare for an epic fantasy. Usually they span, 19 books and they're all this big, each one. But this was started and ended, the main story in this book. And the way that she did that was so well done, because obviously to write an epic fantasy of this measure, you need a lot of words, and she did it in 800 pages. The very first review on here is mesmerizing by the Washington Post, and I totally agree. I think this is really great. Brilliant, diverse, feminist, subversive, thought-provoking, and masterfully told. The Priory of the Orange Tree is epic fantasy at its finest. That is what I totally agree with that. And that is what's unique about it. It's pretty diverse, and it's very feminist in terms of some of the kingdoms are not necessarily a patriarchal society like we're used to seeing in maybe our own world, and in much fantasy. So like there's a queendom, the one kingdom is see, look at that, patriarchy. The one see, kingdom is such a ubiquitous word. The one area, like country kind of, is a queendom. Anyway, this was perfect. It was a 6-star read. It was the last book I read of 2025, and it is my #1 book of the year. So those are my top 5. When we were talking about this video, we said we wanted to mention something that we're excited about for 2026, like a book that's coming out. I actually don't really know a lot of what's coming out for 2026. So I'm sorry to say that I don't really have one picked out. I should have thought about that. I'll come back if I think of something. Otherwise, let's just say I'm excited to read more books, right? Obviously. I do think I'm really excited to read, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Abby Jimenez has a new one coming out. And every time I read one of her books, it just transports me. I love her books so much. They're so sweet. So I would probably say that is one of my top anticipated reads. But if Taylor Jenkins Reid is coming out with something, that'll pull me. That'll tempt me, you know? Anyway, I digress. Happy New Year. Laura and Grace, I love you so much. Thank you for starting this fun channel with us. You know, we don't really have the time nor the capacity to take this on all the time in our lives, but we're making it happen and we're having fun while doing it. And I love that we get to do this together and work on something creative in a way that we've never done before. It's really fun. 2025 was our year. 2026 is definitely going to be our year. We have a lot of really fun things coming in our own personal lives. Won't say more, but we also have some fun things coming for this channel. So thank you so much for those of you who watch, particularly some of our dear friends and family who tune in every week and get mad at us when we miss a week. Love you guys. Happy New Year. Happy 2026. See you next year.
All right, so going back through my list of books on Goodreads was fun because some of them I didn't remember at all. Actually, one of them I said, what? I read that? Only a year. And I don't remember them. But I also feel like some were missing, which is weird because like I added them to Goodreads, but they weren't on like my year of books. Even though I had the dates that I read them. That's okay. So I just picked the 5 that jumped out to me the most. And I'm going to go and start with the ones that I don't own. I own 2 of the 5. So the 3 that I don't own, the first one is The Sirens by Emilia Hart. This one I don't remember much of because I read it quite a while ago. I think it was like early summer. But I just remember being so surprised by this book. I kind of just like I don't have like really high expectations. I think it's YA fantasy. I don't have high expectations for YA fantasy a lot of times, but this one was so good. It felt like some old school fantasy, like that I would have read when I was a teenager, preteen. I don't know. There was something about it that was really fun. Can't say too much about it because, like I said, I don't remember too much about it. So that one was good. I also love a mermaid vibe thing, ocean, you know. Okay, the other one, I had to put The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna in there. Like I can't pass it up. You can't like not put that book in your top 5 if you read it that year. If you've read it, or if you've read any Kristen Hanna, you know. Heart-wrenching, breathtaking, beautiful story. So sad. Wow. And my husband and I read that one like together. Like he read it at the same time I was reading it. And so that was really fun. Like not fun because of like the content of the book, but like fun to like talk to him about a book that I was reading. Number 3 was Wings of Starlight by Allison Saft. Listen, I loved this book so much. So if you know the Fairies of Pixie Hollow, if you were in that circle as a preteen and you read the Disney Hollow Fairy Pixie Hollow Disney Fairies books, you know, had the grip that had on us, you know, it still has on me. Let me be honest. Love Tinkerbell and the Disney Fairies. Like, so magical. Anyway, saw that this was like a YA version. I was like, oh my gosh, gotta read it. But I was like blown away. It was so good. It was well written. As everyone knows, I'm not the biggest fan of romance books, but the romance swept me away. I still think about this book. And like, it is a perfect example of how, like a Disney spinoff or like a YA Disney book can be done well. Just read it. Especially if you have interest in the Disney Fairies when you were little, this is like, it was the same magical feeling. So I loved that book. Hopefully there's more of those. I would love some more. But I would like to also see if Alison Staff wrote other books because like I really enjoyed the writing. So those are the 3 I don't own. The other 2 that I do own, 10,000 Doors of January by Alex Harrow. Hannah and I are divided on this book. She recently tried to read it and she couldn't finish it. And I understand it is slow. It is slow, especially in the beginning, but I just adore Alex E. Harrow and her writing, every page. I love it. I'm currently reading, what's it called? The Everlasting, which is her new book. And it's just like such a treat. So I had to put this one on there. And this is another one that like, I think about a lot and I'm going to reread eventually. Okay. And then number one, and I have talked about it in multiple other videos. Everyone's tired of me talking about this book. This book, The Bright Sword. Okay. It's definitely, it's number 1 of this year and maybe like many years. I just loved it. Every page so much. If you love King Arthur and you haven't read it yet, shocked, first of all, but you must read it. It is a beautiful piece of the canon now. It belongs in the number 1 spot for King Arthur retellings, in my opinion. So those are my top 5. Can't wait to see what Hannah and Grace picked for the year. They really read a ton of books. So I'm excited to see what they put at their top 5. Okay, as far as a book that I'm looking forward to reading this year, I don't typically, because I feel at this point so far behind in like my own reading list, and then on top of that, all the new releases, I don't typically like mark ones that are coming out in the year, but there is one that came out recently that I haven't read yet, and that is The Poisoned King by Katherine Rundell. I think that's the title. I just looked it up and now I forget already. Anyway, it's the sequel to Impossible Creatures by Katherine Rundell, which is a juvenile fiction, but it's a little meatier than a typical juvenile fiction, fantasy, or in general book. It's just a really, really good fantasy book. I was actually it just missed my top 5 for the year. I mean, now, granted, I didn't read that many books this year, so there weren't like that many to choose from for my top ones, but it was definitely one of my favorites this year. It's just like the typical fantasy dragons, magical creatures, you know, all that. But there's a sequel that came out in September, I believe, and I haven't read it yet, so that's definitely on my top books to read coming up.
Hello, everybody. If you haven't caught on, I'm going to be talking about my top 5 books of 2025. I read a total of 108 books this year, and I was really hoping to get to 110, but with finals and everything, and I also adopted a kitten, it just wasn't in the card this year, but that's okay. I'm gonna get 110 next year. 2026 is gonna be my year. Okay, so let's dive straight into it. So I had a really difficult time not picking my top 5, but ranking my top 5. And then I was like, Grace, it's not that serious. So let's just dive into it. This is currently how I would rank them. That might change. Maybe it wasn't true a month ago or a day ago or maybe even an hour ago. But right now, this is how I'm feeling. Okay, so in 5th place, out of my 108 books, is The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. I adored this book. This is my first book that I've read by Catherine Center, and boy, was it a treat. I love her writing style. I don't know what it is about her writing style, but it's so easy to read, and yet you feel so connected to the characters. Like, for how quickly I flew through this, I truly felt like these characters became my best friends. I was rooting for them. The plot of this book is that the male main character is a screenwriter, and he is writing this rom-com, but he didn't do a great job. Like, everybody who reads it is like, this is what you came up with? Really? So she, our female main character, comes and helps him rewrite this rom-com and makes it a whole lot better. And obviously during that, they end up falling in love with each other. And it was just such a cute, sweet read. I truly flew through this book. It was wonderful, and I have thought about it almost every day since. This is one of the books that when I look at my bookshelf, I point this one out. This one sticks out to me just because of the fun time I had while reading it. Okay, number 4, this one really took me by surprise, okay? And that is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I should have looked that up. This book is definitely one that's outside of my comfort zone. So this is like a gothic modern classic. I think I see it classified as multiple different things, but I'm going with a modern classic, a gothic modern classic. That's what I consider this. Blown away. Hey, I was blown away. I was like, there's no way that I'm actually gonna like this book. And I bought this when I was with my parents, and they were both like, really? Like, you're not gonna like that. I didn't think I was gonna like it either. The reason that I got this was because Taylor Swift, hey, do you mind if I talk about Taylor Swift again? She wrote Tolerate It, and she said that it was based off of this book because she read this book and she loved it so much, and she was like, I have to write a song about it. And guys, that song is one of my all-time favorite Taylor Swift songs. This book is one of my all-time favorite books, okay? She hit the nail on the head. This is a crazy, twisty, kind of dark book that even if it's outside of your comfort zone, I still think that you should read it. Adored it. Okay, so basically, this woman, we never learn her name, which is the craziest thing about this book. We never learn the female main character's name. And I think that that really ties into Taylor Swift's song Tolerate It, which is about how she always feels like she's tolerated in a relationship rather than being appreciated. Like, she's never truly seen. And our female main character, we never learn her name. Nobody ever once refers to her by her name. And she marries Maxim de Winter, and it's about her moving into his house and finding out more and more about his ex-wife. And it's very twisty, it's very turny, and you never quite know what's going to happen next. It took me by surprise, and I cannot wait to watch the movie adaptation of this. I have been meaning to watch it for so long, but I don't want to let go of this book and for that door to finally close, and for me to have consumed all of the versions of this book. I'm just not quite ready for that yet, but you have to read this. You have to read this. Okay. Number 3. I've mentioned this one before, so I'm not going to talk about it for too long, but that is The Silent Patient. I bought this book at Half Price Books because it was on sale for $5. And I was like, well, you can't beat that, okay? Even if I don't like it, because I haven't really read many mysteries, is this considered? Hey, it scared me. That's why I don't really read these. But this one, I went out and bought more mystery books after this because it hooked me so much, and I still think about this. And whenever I am asked to like give recommendations on what someone should read, I still say that this is one that would really hook you, really get you into reading, even if you don't read. In this book, our female main character, her husband, and then stops speaking. So we follow her, what is he called? What is his profession? A psychotherapist, as he gets to know her and tries to figure out what's happened, why her husband, and what the whole story is there. And guys, I was on the end of my seat. I was on the edge of my seat reading this book. I truly couldn't put it down. I need to read more by this author. Number 2, Is anybody surprised that number 2 is a book by Abby Jimenez? No, nobody's surprised. So we have Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Okay, let me just say this. Abby Jimenez is probably my favorite author of all time. I love every single book that I pick up by her. She has the highest ratings of any of the authors that I've like read a lot from. So I truly recommend every single one of her books. I read this one this year. This was a new release, came out around my birthday. So of course I went to Barnes & Noble on my birthday. My 21st birthday was going to Barnes & Noble and getting this book. And I got the one with the pretty inside cover. Just everything about Abby Jimenez's books is just perfect. Reading an Abby Jimenez book to me is like taking a deep breath after a stressful situation, or like submitting your last final and then realizing like I'm free. That's what reading an Abby Jimenez book feels like to me. It's just a breath of fresh air, truly. And she doesn't shy away from including difficult situations, hardships, kind of uncomfortable conversations. The female main character, I believe her mother has dementia, and she's helping to take care of her. And never once did this book feel heavy. And that's something that I don't know how Abby Jimenez does it, because she includes these struggles in her books, and yet you don't feel heavy or like, oh my goodness, that was hard to read after reading her books. And I really appreciate that in her romance books, because that adds so much depth, makes her books feel so real, because nobody's life is perfect. Everybody experiences some kind of hardship. And so I really appreciate that she includes that in her books. And yet they're still light and fluffy, and they just make you feel good after you finish reading it. Another thing that I absolutely loved about this book is that the male main character is a veterinarian, and you get to see several little animals in this book. And I love that she includes animals, I believe, in every single one of her books. And I'm a huge animal person, so that's gonna get me. Okay, that's gonna make me like a book. It's Abby Jimenez. Okay, she's an auto buy. She's an auto 5-star. I just know it's going to be good when I pick up an Abby Jimenez book, okay? Number 1. This is another one that I was like, I know I'm going to like it, but I love this book. It might be one of my favorite books of all time. This was a 6-star read for me, and that is The Things We Leave Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros. This book, okay, stick with me for the plot here. There are 2 timelines. And in the present timeline, a female main character is settling her grandmother's estate. So her grandmother passed away. She's dealing with all of that, and she realizes that her one book, her grandmother was an author, was never finished. So she hires this man to come and help finish this book, which was about her grandmother's life. So you have that in the current timeline, and then as they're reading about her grandmother, as they're learning more, trying to finish this book, you're having flashbacks to the other timeline, which is her grandmother. And her grandmother's husband was a World War II pilot. So, in the heart of World War II and about everything that she experienced during that, this book is heavy, but it is beautiful. Some of the quotes in this book, I annotated this whole book. It's stunning. I mean, I still flip through this book and read some of the quotes. There are a lot of really sad moments that just really tug on your heart, and that's how you know that it's good writing, it's a good story, is when you feel that for the characters and you mourn with the characters and you just feel whatever the characters are feeling in that moment. This book just completely transported me into World War II. It felt like I was right there with these characters. I adored this book. I can't recommend it more. This is a big book. I read it in one sitting. This is definitely my number 1 book of 2025. I couldn't recommend it more. It's very heavy though, so make sure that you're in the right mind space for a heavy book before going into it, but I absolutely adored this. As for a book that I am looking forward to in 2026, there are so many, okay? I can't wait to read so much more. I mean, I'm looking at my Kindle right now. I just can't wait to dive into more books. But I have so many that I'm looking forward to. I think the one I'm most looking forward to is Best Friends by Haley Pham. I have followed Haley Pham on YouTube for years now. She's a book content creator, and she decided that she wanted to write her own romance book. So I cannot wait to read that. It comes out in March. I'm so excited. I've never read a book that a YouTuber that I watch has published, so that's going to be all new to me. I am so excited for that. I just cannot wait. But I hope you guys had a happy new year, and I can't wait to hear what your favorite books are down below in the comments. And if you read any of the books that we have recommended, please let us know what you think. Happy reading, everybody, and happy new year!